Okay, hey, we're doing to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool review from the brand Forstner. A little about them: they're originally founded as a Forstner chain corporation in about 1920 by William Forstner in New Jersey. And in its early years, the company made ornamental jewelry and watch bracelets, as you're going to see here. Now, originally made by Forstner in the 1960s era by their successor, Jacoby Bender, right? So JB, so the famous JB mesh, as in pretty much these were designed and manufactured as an OEM option for the Bulova Accutron Astronaut. The bracelet has become a cult classic in collector circles. They pretty much love the bracelet so much that they introduced it in two configurations. The straight end design that you're going to see here, that I've been able to fit to my wonderful Seiko 5 55th anniversary recreation SRPK17, as well as offering options with specific fitted end links for the Omega Speedmaster and the Tudor Black Bay lines. You can get this for $155 direct from Forstner. I appreciate them sending this in. Of course, my reviews are always impartial. It doesn't really matter how I get the pieces, whether it be an accessory, a watch, a pocket knife, a wallet, a pen, whatever it may be. I'm always going to give you my direct feedback, and no other entity has any type of editorial feedback or say in my own personal reviews. So with all that said, let's go ahead, zoom the camera out, get this piece in hand, and take a closer look. All right, guys, so very quickly, here's the box. Of course, there's a little sleeve that goes over it. There's a little magnet there, so be aware of that. And you do actually get a nice little screwdriver here, as you can see, one that similar to the kit you'll get, where you can take that, line it up, and then just really kind of keep it nice and stable. So very, very cool. And a little baggie, of course, for the extra links. And then there you go. You see that the famous JB is still within their branding, which is very, very cool. So with that out of the way, check it out, guys. So of course, for just a little bit of reference here, this particular Seiko 5 sports watch has a 39 millimeter diameter. It's actually 39.3 millimeters at the bezel, so there's a very slight overhang, but just to kind of give you an idea of the scale here, it has a 12.5 millimeter thickness and a 42.8 millimeter lug to lug. So when you're looking at this, it's actually quite a compact watch, and this very nice vintage taper actually suits it very, very well. I was really inspired to kind of try out this particular combination by actually seeing a Fratello photo that they used, where they actually had one of the original watches like this, but it was the blue variant, the blue dial, with an old bullet style bracelet on it. And I just thought that was such an really just amazing look that hey, why not? And I have to say, it's really paid off, because this thing looks really fantastic. It just steps it up a notch, and really just adds a bit of refinement, a bit of that extra step. With anything that you accessorize, you're just adding that extra personalization to it, which is really cool. And as if you weren't an aficionado enough by collecting something like this obscure, although with how popular Seiko is these days, but I mean the original model that this is based off of, because this is a reissue, an anniversary reissue. This is not the most mainstream watch case, and it's just kind of very, very cool and very niche, and I think this bracelet just sets it off so well. So let's get into the details of this beautiful Forstner bullet bracelets with the straight end links. As you can see there, it's also 20 millimeters, so that fit really quite wonderfully. This actually is a 5-link combination. It's all solid in terms of the links, the end links. It does have, of course, those nicely polished interlinks there, and then brushed on top, polished, and also angled on the sides. And something that they did that was really surprising, that I thought was really nice, was they actually angled even the screws. As you can see, they're at an angle, so they're not going to be, a straight end. They're actually going to have a little flare to them. So when you unscrew and rescrew them back in, make sure you get them back in the right positions so you can still have that beautiful flushness there, which looks fantastic. And of course, you guys already know, because you saw the screwdriver, that this does use screwed in links. So this is, of course, the construction is all 316L stainless steel. It does have this beautiful Forstner push button milled clasp. Everything is milled there, so very nice. And really, the nice thing that I really enjoy is that it's still quite thin. It has a nice flow to it. It doesn't look overly thick. And if you look here, it just looks quite balanced, and you don't always get that when it comes to a milled setup. And you have a ton of micro adjusts, although these are very short links, so you should be able to really dial in your optimal fit even without using these. But hey, the good news is, if you need to, let's say, get a little extension, let me just wipe off some of the fingerprints here, because it's a little hot, whatever it may be, or a little cold. Maybe you're a little bloated, maybe you're not very bloated because you just detoxed, right? It's nice to have that little bit of micro adjust there, and there's quite a few different settings. I like to pretty much have it, with as many links as I can have, and then, on the tightest portion. And you can see right now I have it backed off by 1, just for a little additional comfort. Now, some other details here, guys. So this is meant to fit anywhere between 5.5 inches to 8.5 inches. I'm at 7.5 inches, so I fit right in there. And then in terms of the sizes that are offered for the width, although this is a 20, it's also available in a 17.5, as well as a 19 millimeter, a 21 millimeter, and a 22. So there's a lot of odd options there, guys. That's what really makes this a lot of fun. Also, just note that 17.5 version is suited primarily for the vintage Bulova Accutron Astronaut. So that's why, and there's a little bit of an expansion as well that they do, which is pretty cool. So and then in terms of spacing and the lug holes, just so you know, if you have a 17.5 and you're rejoicing because you just heard that, just know that it is very specifically made to fit with that watch, that Bulova, which actually recently was reissued, funny enough. And then in terms of the taper, guys, it's going to taper down to 16 millimeters, which is, very thin, but pretty normal. I would say 20 to 16 is a nice taper. But one thing just to be aware of that will make this appear more aggressive is the angle, right? So as you can see, these links aren't flat on the side. They go inwards. So they're going to come in and they're going to kind of shave and point up. So with that, it's going to appear even thinner because now you have just that small portion that is going to be brushed on top on the edges. It's kind of shaved off. And then you have the reflective high polish sections, which of course are just going to reflect off your skin. So this is going to be, in terms of, the way it's going to look for a larger wrist, it's just something to keep in mind. It might look a bit small. If you have a small wrist, you can pretty much rejoice because this is a bracelet that will actually suit your wrist really well. I do have a slightly larger wrist, and I think this looks great on me, so I'm not too upset by any means. Also, you can see that this actually, also you can't see, but just so you know, this actually came with spring bars, which was cool. And you know, that's cool. And then of course you get the screwdriver as well. But with all that said, let's actually get this thing on the wrist. And since this is a, you know, a bracelet review, I'm not going to cut away to put it on. I'm going to demo putting it on. I'll slide my hand in here. All right, and I'm going to close the clasp. You can see it fits very nicely. Great taper, guys. Check that out. Flows beautifully. Really makes that short, kind of stubby cushion case really stand out on the wrist. So very beautiful. Of course, if I do get my wrist too close to the camera lens, there's going to be a bit of distortion, and you're going to probably think that the watch looks even bigger and the bracelet looks even smaller. But again, that's just a bit of a perspective distortion. So I'll keep my hand nice and low and then just tighten up the frame here so that you guys can get a, you know, still a detailed look, but also while having a truer aspect ratio as to how this may sit upon your own wrist. So you guys can see there, very, very nice. Sits beautifully, very period correct in terms of what Seiko recreated, as well as what Forstner recreated. But they did do some fortification. This is definitely, you know, these are, you know, done to a modern standard. So that's, you know, one of the main beauties of it all is that you're going to be able to have that vintage aesthetic, but with a toughness and a robustness and a level of fit and finish that is commensurate with, of course, the technologies of today. So very, very cool, guys. I love this pairing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Because yeah, I'm really, really digging it. So there's not like we can do a low light transition or anything. I think that might be a little silly. You guys can see that this is a steel bracelet. It's brushed and polished. So there's going to be quite a bit of light play. And if you did want some low light transition, check out the full review of the watch. But to do transition on just the bracelet specifically might be a little odd. But you can see really nicely done here. You get, of course, multi finishes there. You're getting blasted in the backing of the logo in terms of that cutout. Then you're going to be getting, let me just give it a quick little wipe here. Bit of high polish on the flanks of that beautiful milled clasp with milled push buttons. So really, really well built from that perspective. I know some people really like to, you know, make a stand when it comes to not having quick micro adjusts. But this does offer you, you know, all the functionality, of course, that you need, maybe without that extra luxury, which probably helps suit this more vintage aesthetic, for me anyway, a bit truer than if they were to, you know, try to, you know, pound a bunch of tech into there and probably increase the width and the thickness and all that. So I think this thing's really nice. And if you haven't seen the full review of this particular Seiko 5, a little bit about it. It's, you know, it's basically the Seiko 5 collection is celebrating its 55th anniversary with this new 555 piece limited edition that recreates the first official Seiko sports watch from 1968. Yes, there were Seiko 5 watches before that. But they weren't specifically Seiko 5 Sports. There were Seiko models with the number 5, but in terms of the line when it was officially created, then that's it. Yeah. So this, just so if there's any confusion, if you know of an older one, you know, that predates 1968, it wasn't officially a Seiko 5 Sports in the way that we know Seiko 5 Sports today. So with that said, guys, that's pretty much it. I think this thing is awesome, but let me know what you all think in the comments below. If you like the video, please do a like, and if you aren't already, please subscribe for more content just like this. Thanks, guys.